All right, guys, so we've got one garden bed filled and ready to plant. And you know what? You never want to feel rushed or hurried because gardening is supposed to be grounding and settling, not anxiety raising, right? So the earlier you can get your garden beds ready for spring, the better the soil will have prepared itself, because we're going to do a preparation method that's often referred to as lasagna gardening, which is just the idea of stacking layers of greens and browns on top of each other. The deeper your bed is, the easier it would be, and we're doing a fairly shallow bed, but we're going to do kind of a modified iteration of lasagna gardening so that we can have basically soil building even while soil is growing, and that'll retain moisture and generate nutrients for the plants. When you're finished up, I've got coffee sacks. It could be cardboard, it could be leaf mulch, sitting on top of black soil with a host of layers underneath it. And we're gonna tack a little garden bed together, and I'm just gonna show you what I've put in here so that you can follow along as you wish. Here we go. Okay, this is the garden bed for the day to fill. And yes, it's spring, and yes, it's raining, and I love working in the rain. You might have heard the saying, April showers bring May flowers. Well, we're in April right now where I am. It doesn't just bring May flowers when you get rain. Where I live, I get June, July, August, September, October, November, December vegetables. So that rain is good for everything going on. I want to fill this bed. We want to use this lasagna gardening approach, and I just want you to think for a moment about what's in here so far. It looks like an empty bed. In total, it's about 25 centimeters deep, 10 or 11 inches. Remember that there's soil at the bottom under all this. Then there was grass on top of the soil, so that's brown and green. Then I put cardboard, that's brown. Then I put fresh bark chips, that's green. So we already got 4 layers, brown, green, soil, grass, cardboard, bark chips. So there's already 4 layers in here. And now I'm gonna add a few more layers, and I'll just walk you through that. And I do my best to get the free, best quality ingredients I can to build this bed. So here we go. So the next thing, guys, that I'm putting in here is actually straight out of the chicken coop. But keep in mind, the chicken coop's been running with nothing emptied out for about 6 months. So this bed has got a mixture of rotting alfalfa, sawdust, and chicken manure. There's a lot of layers of brown and green already going on in here. So now I'm gonna spread that out. And this one wheelbarrow load that I just put in here will probably fill about half of the garden bed, which is, remember, 12 feet or about 4 meters long. So there's that. Lots of brown and green layering already going on with that. And it's at all different levels of decomposition, which means it's at all different levels of nutrients available to the plants we're going to put in here. Okay. The next thing that I have, guys, is really green. Check out how green this is. It is grass clippings. I just put together a bunch of grass clippings, so that's as pure nitrogen as you can get. And if I layer a bit of that, it's going to really activate the decomposition. In fact, it'll start steaming inside there with all the activity. So that's a bunch more green going on inside the garden bed. Just one bucket of that, or one catcher of that, and that's for, again, half the garden bed. And now, before I put soil in, remember this is all the lasagna layers before the soil, we're really building soil, I'm putting in compost. And this has been maturing for about 6-7 months in my garden, but mostly over the winter when it would not have been breaking down or decomposing so quickly. And so this is household waste, last year's chicken manure and weeds, and all sorts of things broken down. And this is full of worms. They are gonna really accelerate everything that's about to go on in this garden bed. So lots of worms in there. So now, think of this. Let's think about this for a second before we put the soil on and just consider what we've got. Oh my goodness, this is good. We have got the original soil that we're putting this backyard abundance on top of, right? That's like the blank palette. So we got the original soil. Then we have the grass. Then we covered that grass with cardboard. Then we got fresh bark chippings and tree chippings on top of that. Then we put in chicken manure with all the litter and sawdust and nutrition from the chickens. Then we put in grass clippings. Then we put in compost that's full of worms. Look at all these beauties. Here's a couple. They want to say hi. There's some of the worms. So those worms are going to go in there and break everything down. And now, The bed's a little bit more than half full by depth, and I'm going to take the soil that I've brought in, put soil on top of it, and then cover it with coffee sacks and just let that bed prepare itself. So let's go get some soil and some sacks. Okay, so about half the bed's full of all the layers building up to the soil, which is called often topsoil. So we're putting the topsoil on the top, and here we go. We're just gonna rake that around, get our levels nice, see where we're at for full. Keep in mind the soil's gonna settle a bit, so you can go really full, and it'll settle down a bit. Settle down, soil, settle down. So now we have covered all of our lasagna layers with the greens and browns with some nice rich brown topsoil, which I did purchase on this bed. And each of the beds is between 1.5, 1 1/3 meters by about 4 meters long. All the way around the perimeter is a bit over 10 meters or 30 feet. And here we are with it all filled up and lots of layers on it. But then we want to protect the soil, because remember, the soil is the whole part of the equation that matters the most in this. So what I do is I take sacks, and if you can't get coffee sacks or potato sacks, which is, remember, it's compostable, in this case organic material, it becomes soil over time. You could get cardboard or leaf mulch. They would do just as well, just to create a really nice covering. That keeps the worms feeling safe. They're not threatened, and that way they'll come up to the surface and they'll do what every gardener wants, which is nice turning of the soil without damaging it. So rather than rototilling or even putting a fork in it and turning it over, the worms are going to do the work for us. That's a beautiful way to go. So this bed in this area now is ready to receive its irrigation drip lines, which are going in next. And then we're going to start planting down the drip lines. Thanks for sticking with it. It's going to get done, and it's going to be awesome. Backyard abundance.